Hey, bud, it's Valentine's Day. I should really lock that door, huh? So got any plans or a date? No, not really. Okay, so are you just gonna live your life just fully single with nobody? No. No. Bro got no bitches, no job, no money, no house, just single with nobody? By the way, if you understand the reference of the video title, I'll pin your comment. I would describe my love life as a car crash. Up the ass and hard. No. In fact, I would describe my love life as non-existent. It's really funny because one of my favorite holidays is Valentine's Day. And in fact, I have many great memories of Valentine's Day. Like going out to restaurants and buying the deluxe edition of Injustice, Gods Among Us, the first game. We don't talk about the second game, but I bought that game on Valentine's Day many years ago. That was one of my fondest Valentine's Day memories. Conan Gray had this song called People Watching, and there's two lines in the lyrics that very much resonate how I describe my love life. I had a dream about a house behind a picket fence. Next, I choose to trust. I hope I use some common sense. It's not like I don't want to be in a relationship, it's just that I can't commit myself to be in a relationship, if that makes sense. Relationships have always been a weird thing to me, and there's two major events that happen in my life that basically contribute to the fact of why I don't want to be in a relationship ever. In 8th grade, towards the end of the year, there was this big dance and there was food, and I think there were also drinks and stuff like that. Happened in the cafeteria and in the small gym. But leading up to the 8th grade dance, there were two guys in my science classes. I'm not going to name them, but I will give them a pseudonym. So let's say Mr. S and Mr. Q. Of course, I was in 8th grade. I loved pulling shenanigans and I loved making people laugh. So that's exactly what I did. I made fun of Mr. S and Mr. Q. That's in a joking, whatever way. But they clearly didn't like that because they were the quote unquote the popular kids. You know, those kids that always hang around in front of the lockers and is the main reason why there are always traffic jams in the hallways. Yeah, he was one of those kids. So I should have known that this was going to happen, but for some reason, I didn't. I've always heard this rumor in middle school that either one of them, I think it was Mr. Q, was going to ask me out to the 8th grade dance. And to my surprise, scrolling through Instagram of a guy who is friends with Mr. Q and Mr. S, and is also a guy I went to elementary school with, in the comment section of his post of the 8th grade dance, there was this banter between the guy and Mr. S. And they were basically talking about, and another girl that I thought I was friends with, but I wouldn't even call her my friend. I would just call her just someone I know. They were talking about how Mr. S, Mr. Q, was going to ask me out to the dance as a joke. As a joke. It's kind of quite remarkable that I still consider that girl my friend in high school also. I don't think she ever told me about those comments that she made under that post, but whatever. And the second major one that happened in high school. In 2015, there was this movie called Duff. It had Bella Thorne and Robbie Amell. You know, the one person, Bella Thorne, who was on Disney Channel, and Robbie Amell, who was in the live-action Scooby-Doo movie that was on Cartoon Network all those years ago with Hayley Kiyoko playing Velma. I know you know what that movie is. Let me explain to you the term Duff. Duff basically means you're the designated ugly fat friend. And I didn't know about the term until these two girls that I thought I was friends with, but it was clearly whatever, in a text message group chat that I was in. And she called me a Duff. And I was like, what's a Duff? And she was like, oh, you should just go look it up. And I looked it up, and it basically means that you're the friend that makes other people look better so they can get dates or whatever. Ironically, I was at the gym when this happened, so needless to say, I ran, I think, 7 miles that day on the treadmill, but Yeah. Obviously, in high school, nobody really asked me out. I'm not really gonna go there, but I went to college, and I was asked out a shit ton by a lot of people, and I didn't know how to handle it because those two major life events happened in my life, and nobody really asked me out in high school. So, to nobody's surprise, I shot down all of those, like, people in college because I just didn't know how to, like, handle it. My fall senior year of college, I was friends with these two people. Let's call them Claire and Rebecca. They were one of those types of people, you know, on TikTok who only talk about their relationships and nothing else but their relationships and basically choose their relationship over everything else. They were one of those kinds of people. To my surprise, they told me to download Hinge so I could also talk about my own relationship. I had a hard time with it, but for some strange reason, I had a Hinge profile for a good period of time. I got okay matches. I don't even know how to explain it, but I had to delete it after a week because of reasons. Being friends with Claire and Rebecca, like, it made me realize that female friendships are, like, very, very important, especially if you're young adult life. You need to have friends that don't, in a sense, dick swallow the concept of being in a relationship. And it made me realize that very hard and very bluntly. I was talking to this guy, one of my coworkers at work, and we were talking about relationships and stuff like that, and, like, I was talking about my track record with, like, relationships, which is none. My coworker brings up something really interesting. And it's that the idea of being in a relationship means that basically you're trading your ambitions and, like, your passions for lifelong companionship. And that really resonated with me because that terrifies me like all. Because I dream of things way, way, way bigger and way, way, way better. Not being in a relationship. Because if that's the case of being in any kind of relationship, that means I'm basically trading in all of that for lifelong companionship. And it's just a sacrifice that people make to be in a relationship. That terrifies me in, like, some way. I think that's another major thing that contributes to the reason why I can't make myself be in a relationship. And that perfectly leads into my two biggest ops on social media. Sarah Nymph and Fallerina Barn. You can believe and you can like anything you want. That's okay with me. I don't care if you like it or hate it. I don't care. But this is me just going on my rant. If Sarah Nymph and Fallerina Barn have no haters, then I'm dead. Then I don't exist anymore. What happened with Fallerina Barn genuinely terrifies the fuck out of me. Because if you read the Washington Post article of, like, her story, like, she was one of the top ballerinas to go to, I think, Juilliard. If you don't know what Juilliard is, look up Juilliard. Basically #1 art school in, like, this country. If you want to be, like, a really great and phenomenal performer, you go to Juilliard. Until this goddamn who basically got his face punched in after he was born, basically came to the airport, sat next to her, and he was like, oh, so do you want to be in a relationship or something? And she was like, oh, you need to ask me in a couple months because, like, I'm trying to train for this one thing. And he was like, oh, my dad's a billionaire or whatever. And she was like, oh. And he was like, oh, like, I'll give you everything you ever wanted, but we have to be in a relationship now. And she was like, oh, okay. And then here we are right now. Couldn't even get her tickets to fucking Greece. That's how non-existent the bar is. And being in a relationship right now. Now let's talk about Sarah Nymph. You know exactly who she is. If you have TikTok or any kind of social media, you know exactly who that godforsaken woman is. She's the, oh, let's make Diet Coke at home. Let's make sunscreen at home. Let's make goddamn chalk at home. She is the worst thing that ever gained popularity. I hate them so goddamn severely. I only blocked Sarah Nymph for her and her goddamn ass. Sarah Nymph, only you could convince millions of women to be fucking trad housewives. Only you would be spoon feeding them. Instead of spoon feeding, you would be shoving your hand down their throat and telling them to be goddamn trad wives. If they have no haters, then I'm dead. Let's do some quick fire questions. No, I will never date a viewer, let alone anyone from the site because I'm not interested, and that's an extreme power balance. My pronouns are she, her. No, I'm definitely not asexual or aromantic because I am still very interested in being in a relationship and dating, just not right now. So that's it. That's the video. If you don't want to hear about me talking about monetizing horrible things about me, that's it. Enjoy the video. Thank you so much for watching. Every good content creator and really influencer in general understands the idea of a FAFO chart. If you don't know what FAFO means or aren't as chronically online as I am, FAFO basically means to fuck around and find out. X-axis is the fuck, Y-axis is the find out. The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. That can also work as a content creator and talking about their trauma. The Y-axis is a 1 through 9 scale. 1 is basically you go through a breakup. Number 9 is basically I have a shotgun ready and I'm going to pull the trigger. The Y-axis is entertainment. So the more you talk about your trauma, the more entertaining it is going to be for people who watch your content. It's just a brutal fact that content creators aren't real people. We're just vessels of entertainment, and especially when we talk about our trauma, that's how the FAFO chart works. It's just more entertainment for you. So hypothetically, if I get into a relationship, which is rare to 0, which is not going to happen, I would tell nobody about it. I wouldn't tell my friends, and I especially wouldn't tell people on the internet. Maybe next year I'll get some bitches, or fingers crossed I'll move out. But hypothetically, it's probably going to be the latter. Happy Valentine's Day, especially to all the single people out there. I'm there in the same boat exactly where you are. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah,